Hey everyone, welcome to this week's 10-Minute 2-Tip Tuesday. I'm your host, Amelia Borland, occupational therapist and owner and founder of Higher Standards Caregiver Training. And as usual, I have a couple of what I hope will be super valuable tips for caregivers and caregiving organizations today. For anyone who might be new to 10-Minute 2-Tip Tuesday, here's the quick deal. I'm going to give you 10 super valuable tips in 10 minutes. Because if you're a caregiver or the owner of a caregiving organization, you are busy and you don't have time for a whole lot more than that. So I'm going to give it to you, and then we're going to talk about some other important resources. This is going to be like a little extra. It's going to be a little extra. I promise we'll still wrap it up quick, but make sure you stay tuned all the way to the end, because there are some special announcements about some new ways that you're going to have to be able to access some of the resources that I sometimes talk about on 10-Minute 2-Tip Tuesday and Higher Standards Caregiver Training. So make sure that you are with me all the way to the end. The other thing that we should talk about before we get started on today's tips is this is for educational purposes only, y'all. If anything that I say reminds you of someone, of yourself, anyone, whether you work with them, it's a loved one, whatever it is, who you think needs intervention from a licensed healthcare professional, then please make sure that that person is getting assessed and treated appropriately by the correct professional, as this is really and truly for educational purposes only. It's not a substitute for healthcare advice or a therapeutic relationship. Okay, that's done. Let's move on to today's tips. And so normally, if you watch 10-Minute 2-Tip Tuesday, I usually kind of really break it up. So there's one tip for caregivers and one tip for care organizations. But I'm going to do it a little bit differently today. There's still going to be 2 tips. But honestly, these are universally good tips, whether you are a family caregiver, an individual caregiver, or you run a small, medium, or large care organization. These apply universally. And honestly, these are tips that can apply almost no matter who you are. These are things that I have worked on with people from all walks of life in all kinds of situations, including myself, of course. I have to remind myself to do these things all the time as well. So I'm excited to talk about these 2 tips today, and I will go ahead and stop rambling and actually start to do that. Okay, so the first tip is to breathe. I know that sounds like such an obvious thing to say, and honestly, sometimes it's actually a lot easier to say that than it is to do that. But the fact is that, let's say if you're a family caregiver and maybe you're sandwich generation, you have your parents who are aging, who maybe you need to help take them to doctor's appointments, you need to help coordinate care. You're starting to have to help them with some of their kind of daily tasks that they need. And then on the other side of things, you also have your kids and their activities and their needs, and you've got to make dinner, and huge pile of stuff just keeps building and building and building. And you look up and it just seems like all of a sudden it's just going to collapse on top of you. In that moment, sometimes there is nothing you can do except to pause and take a deep breath and understand that this moment is just one moment in time. It's not going to be forever. It's not, the past is gone. The future has not happened yet. We can't predict those things. What we have is this moment, and all we can do in this moment sometimes is take a breath and do the thing that we need to do in that moment, and let everything else go for that second. Take time to allow yourself to pause and to breathe, and then move on and focus on what needs to be done. Because sometimes that's all you can do. And sometimes That's all you can do to save your sanity, right? And I say this, not just from my occupation, but I say this as a person too, who's been in those moments before. So don't ever forget to pause, take a breath, and then focus on what needs to be done right there in this moment. You can only manage one moment at a time. And I think that is a tip that really truly applies to leaders in care organizations too. I mean, you might have um, uh, caregivers who are not going to be able to come in for their shift. You might have a client calling who has a concern. Perhaps you're not able to hire. I mean, if you work in the care industry right now, I can almost guarantee you are not able to hire as many people as you need. You have, plus you're also thinking about, what's your cash flow this month? What's your Q1 marketing strategy? How are you going to make sure and meet all of these goals? How are you going to make payroll this month? Again, it's like this huge thing of issues and challenges that seems like it's building up on top of you and it's going to collapse at any moment. But what it really all comes down to is sometimes all you can do is pause, allow yourself to clear your brain for a moment, take a breath, and then focus on the priority that is in front of you. So again, I realize that this can be easy to say and hard to do, but sometimes it's the best thing to do. It's the only thing that we can do is to pause, take a deep breath, and focus on the moment that we're in. So I hope that is helpful to someone today. Second tip for 10-minute 2-tip Tuesday. Again, this applies to both family caregivers as well as caregiving organizations. And that is to know and use your resources. When there's that moment where everything feels like it's going to collapse on you and you're able to pause, take a breath, and refocus, one of the other things that we want to try and do once that moment has passed, once you've handled what needs to be handled, is to understand what resources are available. That can also be easier said than done. If you're a family caregiver, I definitely, there are lots of great resources out there for you, but you probably don't have time necessarily to go out and find them. My friend Chris McClellan at Whole Care Network, I highly recommend, if you're a family caregiver, go visit the Whole Care Network. It is an ever growing list of resources, list of information, and just really a place where you can hear your story, find out what's available to you, and it's growing all the time. So I really recommend that as a fantastic resource for family caregivers. It's also where the Caregiver's Dilemma is going. That's going to be the official home of the Caregiver's Dilemma, which is all about delivering high quality information and resources to family caregivers, so you know what's out there. And that's going to be that is going to be launching officially this Friday on the 27th. So check it out. Look for it on the Whole Care Network. It will be available to you there, I think. Fingers crossed. I'll make an official post about that on Friday, but check it out for sure. I also have a mountain of things that are just about to come down on me. But all good stuff, all good stuff. I'll just have to remember to breathe today. Okay. Also, though, for caregiving organizations, know your resources. If you're a leader in a care organization or really truly any business, you learn pretty quickly you can't do everything on your own. You need to understand what resources are available to you so that you can be focused on those big picture items that are going to allow you to serve your mission and meet your goals. Because if you get bogged down in the day-to-day grind of things, then you can't do that. So know your resources, use your resources so that you can allow yourself to have that breathing space so that you can grow and focus and also not go completely insane. You know what I'm talking about. Okay. Those are my 2 tips for today. Like I said, I did want you to stay make sure you're staying all the way to the end here. I have a couple more quick announcements. One of them was, I already kind of put it in there, Caregivers Dilemma podcast. If you are a family caregiver, this is really all about sharing family caregiver stories and the resources that are available to you, and kind of just understanding what the challenges are that you are facing out there. So make sure that you're checking that out. It launches again officially on Friday on Whole Care Network. You should be able to get it also wherever you download your podcast from. But I'm not sure it will have populated to all those networks yet by then. So for sure, I know you're going to be able to get it on Whole Care Network. It's on Spotify. And on Friday, I'll put a post out that says exactly where you can get it. But sooner rather than later, you'll be able to download it from wherever you get your podcasts. Another thing that I have been promising for a while, and I finally made it happen, it's now available to request the recording of the fall prevention series. You can request the recordings for either part 1, part 2, or part 3. And I'm going to drop a link in for where you can request those from. Where I recommend you go is the brand new facelift Higher Standards Caregiver Training website. I will drop a link into that, and you can go there to request the fall prevention series recordings. You can also go there to request to take the entire fall care prevention for non-medical care organization leadership. And that does come with a certificate of completion at the end. So you can go there and check that out as well. Of course, it also has all kinds of information about Higher Standards Caregiver Training. You can take a sample course for free if you would like, and all kinds of other stuff. So that is finally done. I will drop a link in so that you can go and access those resources. You can access that information that is there for you to make your life easier, to make your life safer, to make your life better, and of course, to make the lives of your caregivers and your clients safer, easier, and better too. I think I literally have a list here of all the things that I was supposed to nail down in this because there's a lot going on. Okay, so we got the fall prevention recordings and the course that are now available. I will drop a link into the revamped Higher Standards Caregiver Training website so that you can check that out. We've got the podcast coming out for family caregivers on Friday. And as always, if I have overshared or something I said was confusing, or you just want to reach out with a question, then please do that. Until next week, though, guys, I'm done for today, for today's 10-minute 2-Tip Tuesday. I hope that someone out there found this valuable. I hope that you're able to find a moment, breathe. I hope you're able to find some resources to help get you through your journey, whatever part of the journey you are on. Until next week, y'all, take care. Bye.